Welcome to
Coffee with Toffees.
Let's do this!
Good evening and welcome back to Coffee with Toffees, guys. A brand new episode for your viewing enjoyment. No guests tonight. We're going back to the roots, the old Sports Center style catch up. This is your week in review. Normally you get this on the weekend, but it has been a crazy whirlwind of events here in the Toffees household of late, and I will give you guys an update on all of that as we move through the show, or towards the back end of the show, I should say. We'll talk about some of the changes you're going to see over the next couple of weeks into the next month. Exciting things and things are going to be a little bit of a challenge, but as supporters, as fans, as viewers, I want you to come along for the ride with me. That said, though, let's start with the intro as we always do. My name's Toffees. You can find me at Toffees_Dota2. Stay tuned because that Twitter account may change in the next month. After I explain some of the changes you're going to see, you'll understand why, but if you have ideas for names for the Twitter account that express that we're still making content, though we may branch out from the Dota 2 world exclusively, though Dota will still be the anchor, let me know if you have any ideas. And our show, as always, is brought to you by the folks over at Razer, the makers of the finest equipment in esports, and of course betway.com, the only way that you can safely bet your hard-earned cash on esports. If you really want to show off your knowledge for ESL One, make a little cash off it. It's the last big event before TI. You can head over there right now. And in fact, if you live outside of the US, there's a link below the fold on my Twitch site where you can go directly there and get some free cash to go ahead and give it a try. So check it out, guys. They give us money to support the show, and that's kind of a big deal because it helps keep this thing running. That said, let's jump into the news. We're going to start with non-tournament news first. That's the first thing to discuss right out of the gate here, and there's been some pretty big stuff. I think the big one that everyone is talking about is Dota 3, or Dota 2 Reborn, if you will. I guess it's not technically Dota 3. Heroes are the same, gameplay is the same, everything else looks totally different. A new engine, a new interface, and new ways to play is how Valve defined it, and I think that about sums it up. We got everything from new designed minimaps, heroes looking totally different, coding is going to be 100% different. From what I understand, we're going to solve a lot of the issues that you may have with some of it playing on your machines and things like that. So it's going to be a really great transition. The thing I'm excited about, custom games are going to become part of the actual interface. So it's going to be easy to find them and get into them. No more installing separate clients or downloading different things. It's going to be part of the community. And I'm excited about that because it's a totally new side of the game that I didn't even know existed. Well, I knew it existed. I was never really a part of. So it gives me a chance to try out some new stuff. Very, very, very exciting. I know that it's been in the works for a while. One must ask themselves, why hasn't Valve released it sooner? And I would be remiss if I sat here and didn't say that I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that Heroes of the Storm had their official release this weekend. I think that that's pretty relevant information. I'm not going to say that Valve 100% bet on that, but it's definitely interesting that it will be dropping synonymous with the last tournament of the season, as well as the beginning of the HOTS launch. So smart timing by them. I'm very excited to see it played out. So keep tuned in. As I get more information about it, you're going to see it. But I'm sure, honestly, by the end of the week, you guys are all going to see the whole thing anyway. So it doesn't even matter. All right, next up to talk about, this is an interesting one. This is a piece of news that came out of our Chinese scene. This is Vici Gaming was tweeted. Daryl, who is Ice, tweeted out not too long ago that it was on June 15th, I believe, so yesterday, that Chinese Ace, which is the Players Foundation, or not the Players Foundation, the organizing body for Dota in China, fined Vici Gaming $2,000, that's in US, for dumb stuff, he said. Yay. Well, it came out after the fact. I saw it in an article on Gozu Gamers that they charged them $2,000 because Ice was not wearing his official team jacket during a match at the Mars Dota 2 League. That's a little bit weird to me. I mean, I guess I've seen leagues fine players for not wearing their equipment or their sponsored gear and say the NFL or the NBA. We've never seen this in esports. The Gozu article actually points that out very concisely, and it is a first time for that. The question is it right or wrong? It's a tough call because I don't know that there was any ACE branding on the jackets. I saw them at the summit, and they looked like your typical team jackets, very similar to what you would see a lot of the other teams wear, which makes you wonder if the ACE does have some sort of buy-in with the team organizations or with the sponsors to help keep that sort of thing honest. But a very interesting tweet by ICE that they did lose $2,000 for not wearing a jacket. I gotta be honest, I'm glad I'm not personally fined $2,000 if I forget to wear a piece of clothing, because I would be broke. But that's a interesting observation coming out of the Chinese scene, that they have definitely moved to formalization in the same way that we have larger sports like, say, the NFL or FIFA running other organizations. So WCA taking a big step there with that fine. That's sort of it for the non-tournament news. There's been some team shuffles, some other things happening, but we're going to kind of leave off on that till after ESL. ESL is the last big tournament before TI, so we should see the non-TI teams begin their shuffle leading up to TI, and then we'll obviously see the big team shuffle after that. Now, let's talk about tournament news. A lot has gone on. Actually, I'm sorry, I do want to bring this up because I did think that this was important. It has something to do with ESL, but it's not the ESL coverage for the day, and that is that PAS is going to play instead of Bone 7 in the ESL One seeding matches. So apparently Bone 7, from what I gather from Envy's tweets, has had some sort of oral surgery, and the doctor said that he is not allowed to play or travel to the seeding matches for ESL One. Does that mean he won't play in the major? I cannot tell. It has not been announced yet, but as of now, PAS will be standing in. So that should be interesting. If you look at it in the context of the Eternal Envy interview that we had here on the show last week, he made it very clear that Bone 7 was a core of the team to him and very, very important. And I wonder how that's going to hurt them as they seed themselves into ESL One, which is going to be a major event. But talking about major events, the first one on our list today is the MLG Pro League. The X Games in Austin wrapped up last weekend, and it was an awful lot of fun to watch. I guess it was 2 weekends ago, technically, and it was definitely interesting. We saw that the games were about what I expected. They were exciting. I was really curious about the event, so I actually spoke to some of the players as well as some of the staff who were involved with it, and the consensus was pretty interesting. A lot of folks said that it was a good event, that X Games took care of them. I hear that the player lounge was absolutely phenomenal. The players got to actually hang out and rub elbows with the extreme athletes from the other sports. According to some players I spoke with, I won't give names, they said that they sort of kept their distance. What I really want to know, and I'm trying to get Demon to come on the show, so Demon, if you hear this, or if you know Demon, tell him to come on. I want to hear about how this new emergence of esports, but specifically this sort of gaming group, is merging with a group like the X Games. Because if you remember, and you may not, I was a young man when X Games started up, when these things were called extreme sports, and if you were a snowboarder on a ski slope, you were sort of an outcast. A skateboarder was sort of chased off. These guys are coming from sports where they were often cast out or sort of not accepted by general society, but also a group of guys and girls who generally, and this is maybe speaking in a larger context, and I don't know if it's like this nowadays, but would be the kind of folks who would have given a hard time to, or picked on, or given a challenge to gamers once upon a time. So I think it's two very different cultures who both live outside of the mainstream, and I really want to know how this extreme sport culture and this esports culture are mixing. Now, according to the players I spoke with at the event, they said that they sort of kept their distance. Everybody sort of stuck to themselves, didn't really get too involved in each other than to go see events. And I do think that that'd be an interesting perspective that I'm working on getting for the show. That said, Players Lounge was amazing. Staff Lounge, I guess, was just okay. But they said everybody was treated phenomenally well. The one beef that a couple of the people expressed to me was that, if you're looking at the picture on the screen, you'll see that they're playing in a tent, that the event was sort of on a tent off from the main festival ground. It was a little hard to get to, and more importantly, if you wanted to go to it, from what I understand, you had to pay additional money for the ticket to the esports events over what you were paying to get into the X Games Festival. So it was sort of a 1-2 combo, which may have kept attendance down at the live event. I think it probably kept a lot of it down. As far as hoping to get other people who were just sort of there for the festival to wander in, wasn't really going to happen. That said, though, it was a great event. MLG always putting on some good stuff. It was a lot of fun to watch. I very, very much enjoyed it. So the results, obviously, Ninjas in Pajamas came out on top. Alliance, who put up a hell of a showing in this tournament. Did a great job, came in second place. Fnatic, who was the former Team Malaysia, got third. We got London Conspiracy in fourth, and the big surprise to me, EG knocked out as they were tied for fifth and sixth with Virtus Pro. That's two big surprises because EG, arguably one of the best teams in the world, knocked out early on. And VP, who just won Dream League, which we're going to get to in a second, knocked out early on. So very interesting to see teams that are not even going to the big show at the TI winning this tournament over teams that have invites. That's kind of a big deal. Very interesting as we talk about majors moving into the next level of Dota play over the next year. So definitely a fun tournament, $165,000 prize pool. Nothing to sniff at. It was a great payoff for Ninjas Pajamas and hopefully for Alliance too, as I think that they could definitely do with a win, and it was good to see them performing. For those of you who don't know, I started Dota watching Alliance. I have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for them, and it's kind of hurt me to see them fall off over the last year, and I'm glad to see them do well in this tournament, get that second place. All right, now we're going to move on to Dream League. VP, like we said, took the win. They did a great job in this tournament. That last series between Na'Vi and VP went all the way to 5. We saw crazy things coming from all the teams. We saw CIS Dota at its finest. If you have not watched the video of the Na'Vi Tier 3 dive at 4 minutes, it was phenomenal. It was hilarious. It was so much fun to watch, and it was as classically Na'Vi as you get. They make a dive, they go into the tower to get a kill, and then they somehow escape. And they go 1 for 1, but a really good one for them. And it was just the kind of thing that I fell in love with Dota for, watching Na'Vi and Alliance play each other, watching the CIS teams go crazy, watching this sort of aggressive Power Ranger style of play that they used to be famous for. Empire does it too. So it was a really fun event. I enjoyed watching it, and I hope that you guys did too. Now, I'm going to take a second, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Dream League here for a moment. Let me set. Because there was a lot of controversy surrounding Dream League. A lot of that came in the form of a Reddit post that was on the front page for I think 2 days, entitled "Please Stop Doing Loser Interviews." Now, this post took 2 distinct directions. One was loser interviews are bad. The other was Jess Brohard does not know how to do interviews. And now, I think that both arguments have some validity to them, but I'm going to address them because as somebody who does interviews, who's worked at events, I think that there is a lot to talk about. First, I think that it is perfectly okay to do loser interviews. Hear me out. Any tournament that you watch, any sporting event that you watch, whether it's the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup Finals, the Premier League, at the end of the game, if it's possible, if the loser's team is open to it, and it is only if they're open to it, there is almost always a loser's interview. It may be short, it may be sweet, it may say, you guys put up a great fight, thanks for being in the tournament, do you have any words for your fans? I mean, these are things that are traditional, they're okay, they're functional, and you know what? I think that they're valuable because here's the thing about being the loser. Maybe not in the grand finals, but in a lot of tournaments, in a lot of games, that loser interview is your last chance to sort of get your brand out there. These guys want sponsors. These guys want recognition. These guys need fans to help grow their brand. And honestly, anytime that they get on camera, they should jump at because that helps grow the brand, helps make them a bigger name, helps get them moved forward, brings in sponsors. So if you get a last chance to sort of talk and state your case, I think that that's an important thing, and taking that away isn't okay. That said, I understand where people are coming from. It can be a very emotional time, as we saw in the now famous interview that was posted there. It was used as the staple for why Jess wasn't nailing the loser interviews. It was very emotional. The response was a tough one to see. However, I thought that it was moving and very, very interesting. Yes, Burden United was at the tail end of their push. They're not going to be together after this, and maybe it would have helped to have known that ahead of time, but we got a really great reaction. And I thought that it ended up being a good interview because the players stepped up and answered the questions. Now, the second part of that is a lot of folks said, well, players aren't trained to interview. You got to be aware of that. Well, you know what? I'm going to stand on a soapbox here, and I'm going to say that it doesn't matter. A player's job is not to know how to be interviewed. If their team wants to give them training, and there's some teams that I've heard rumors that they do some of this, if they want to teach them how to do interviews, that's on them, but I don't think it should be an expectation. I think that the interviewer should go in understanding the personalities of the sport, the personalities of the players, and the functionality of their position, and interview accordingly. When I do interviews, I look up players ahead of time. I watch previous interviews, and I know for a fact, or I try to know for a fact, the basic attitudes of the people I'm going to be interviewing. Are they trolly? Are they fun? Are they open? Are they super introverted? Because that's going to affect you on a post-game, a pre-game, or any interview whatsoever. So I don't think the onus is on the players. I think that it's on the interviewer. Now, we're going to talk about Jess. Jess is a friend of mine. We've had drinks together. I saw her when she came out for PAX East. She's a wonderful person. She's a really great host. I think that the fact that the TI Hub, or TI Qualifier Hub flew her out as sort of a last-ditch save the Mango stream effort was brilliant on their part and worked really, really well. She's good at interacting with the clientele. She reads the Twitch chat very comfortably. She's good with fans. In this particular situation, predominantly the interview that was posted, yes, I was a little bit disappointed. Now, keep in mind, this is a difficult thing. There's a producer in your ear, and if you've never been live on stage with a mic, action around you, and a producer talking to you in your ear the whole time, it is a very difficult situation to be in. It is very hard to be 100% focused the entire time. That said, yes, that's great. It's not a great response to an interview answer. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed. And it's not Jess that does this. It's everybody seems to do it in these post-game interviews. Is a lot was brought up about the softball. You can't just say, oh, how do you feel? Or what do you do now? Because those are simple questions. And the answer is, I don't feel good, or I go home and practice more. There is a value to those questions, but there's more of a value to, I think, softballs that have targeted focuses. And I think giving them opportunities to speak to the fans and speak to the other teams out there. And I think softball questions like, what was the biggest challenge for you in this game? Or do you have any words for your fans as you head out of this, your time in the tournament's done? Do you have any words for your fans who've been so supportive? Because we have absolutely loved seeing you play. Talk about their play style. Things like that can be done softball-y, but also give a little bit of content, which I think is what the viewers really wanted. And thank you to the players who answered some of those questions really, really well. Jess, I think you did a good job. I think that you got stuck in a tough spot of not being prepared for the loser interviews. They're a thing that if you don't know ahead of time, it becomes very, very difficult to deal with, and it sounds like that was sort of sprung. So I say cut her some slack. I say cut interviewers slack in general because it's a tough business to be in. That said, it is the onus of the interviewer who is paying to be there to prep, to get ready, and to be on top of things and figure out the difference between a softball question and a pointless question. All right, so that takes us past my Dream League soapbox. Let's go on to ESL One. Now, I want to start out with a post on Reddit that I thought was hilarious. It's got 1,500 upvotes already, 81% upvoted. It was posted by Sir Action Slacks, and if you follow Reddit, or if you're part of the community, or if you know Sir Action Slacks, you'll know a post by him to get 83 or 81% upvotes is almost impossible, okay? This guy polarizes audiences. I've had him on the show. He was hilarious when he was here. He is the kind of person you either love or you absolutely hate, and in this post everyone loved him, and that's unique versus Sir Action Slacks. Brilliant post. Actually pokes fun at ESL One. It's a satirical post about how awesome the tournament is going to be, and I 100% agree with him. It is going to be an awesome tournament. That sounds like they're going to be offering things like gladiator arenas, archery areas. The food sounds great. I mean, like literally all the stuff that they've got. They're really making this a cool event that's more than just coming to watch video games. It's going to be an awesome experience. And I really, really, really appreciate that ESL One is putting so much into that. I also really appreciate not only the Action Slacks post, but the fact that the guys from ESL, Knigget, has actually been responding a lot and bantering with the fans. And he's been somebody who's very active on Twitter. You can tweet at him and generally get a response pretty quickly. But I think ESL One has done a good job of plugging into the people who support them. And I'm excited to see what their event looks like. Now, teams that are going to be playing in ESL One Frankfurt are going to be Team Secret, Evil Geniuses, VG Gaming, Fnatic, Alliance, Virtus Pro, Cloud9, and Invictus Gaming. This is the last major tournament before TI kicks off. That means it's your last chance to see these teams before they bury themselves in their training camps, before they disappear and start working their butts off to get this medal locked in and go big in the big show. It should be a lot of fun. All of the top teams are represented. We're going to see VG, Evil Geniuses, and Team Secret. We're going to see Team Fnatic, who is Malaysia, who I think, honestly, after their last couple of showings, has a chance at going very deep in TI. Cloud9 came to the European qualifier, but they are a team that has consistently gotten better. We know that they've struggled recently, but I think that they are on track to continue their top 3 to 5 finish in the next major event. So there's going to be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of great teams going to be here, including Invictus, who, to me, I didn't expect them to be as strong as they are when the Chinese shuffle fell out. I know some folks are going to give me a hard time about that. I thought that Invictus would be good, VG would be better, but Invictus has shown me that they are phenomenal, and I'm excited about watching them play. Over in Twitch chat, Internet did say that one of these teams is not like the others. I'm going to assume that reference is aimed at Alliance, and I will challenge that comment and say, I think that Alliance has a chance to show some really great play here. I think that they showed us some moments of brilliance in MLG. I think that if they continue that, and this is closer to their home turf, they're staying in Europe for this one, I think that we could see some really great stuff out of Alliance. If they pull their boots up and they remember who they are and they play their game, I hope that they do well. So that's it for tournament coverage, and I'm going to flip back over to the Dota Reborn thing because that makes me excited as we talk about the last topic for tonight, and that is the state of the show. So here's the thing about Coffee with Toffees right now. And first I'm going to actually start with exciting life change, and then we'll talk about the show. So I'm excited because right now, as a lot of you know, I live in Massachusetts with my wife and my family. We've had a really cool opportunity pop up this week to relocate the family to Indiana, and we have taken that opportunity. So we literally went from business as usual, flying back from San Francisco, which was already crazy in itself, to a couple of weeks ago, to house shopping all week this week, flying to Indiana next weekend, probably almost every weekend after that to get the house in order, to get the transition in place. The goal is to be moved hopefully as early as mid-July, but by the end of July. So that gives me about a month to get our entire life packed up and transition to an entire new state. That does mean for the show that there is going to be some sporadic coverage this month. Now, that's a downside. The upside is, of all the months to have this happen, it's probably this is the best month, right? Because after ESL, we're going to go into sort of a doldrum of Dota news where not a lot's happening. So there won't be as much to talk about. I'll try to get some interviews put together with players when I can tear them away from training camps, etc. But it is going to be a little more sporadic. I tried to get a sponsor as well as some cash to buy a laptop so that I could do the show while traveling and buying the house, but I was unable to raise the funds needed in order to actually do the broadcast and the things we needed. The laptop was going to be more than $1,000, and I just could not raise those funds. So unfortunately, no laptop. That does mean that the show will be a lot less consistent this month than I would have liked. The upside of all of this is I am going to be able to get a house with space to put in a real studio. So right now, guys, if I pull back the wall behind me, you'll see the stairwell to the lower loft. You'll see my kid's bedroom door. The laundry room's right behind me. In fact, my wife's waiting on doing laundry until I finish the show. And it can be very, very difficult to put this on. And that's going to free up some more time for that. We're going to have a dedicated room where I can do it. I can take up casting again, theoretically. But more importantly, we also have my some in-laws who live nearby. They're going to be able to watch my son a couple days, or at least one day a week, which means that I can spend an entire day putting content together. So that's great news because it means that we can do the show the right way. I can have time to write. Currently, I have about an hour a night, 1 to 2 hours a night of either free time, showtime, or playtime, and I can really kind of do whatever I want with that. But if I want to make the show the way that I like it to be made, that means that there isn't a lot of free time. So this is going to free up a lot more to get things done the right way. On top of that, it means with the studio we can launch other shows. So we are actually playing with the idea of launching some other shows as well. So if you have ideas for that, let me know. We may enter other games. In fact, there's even talk of launching a podcast about TV shows, separate from obviously this one. So a lot of different opportunities coming out of the new studio, and I'm excited about that because we get to bring you guys really good content going forward. So that's kind of the up and the down, but I do want to talk to you and let you know that the shows will be sporadic. The other side of things to keep in mind is because of the move and the sporadicness of the shows over the next month, you may notice less sponsors on the sheet. Betway has remained with us, as has Razer. Some of our other sponsors have pulled out, and I totally understand that, but it does mean that funding is becoming a little bit difficult. We still cover our costs, and that is wonderful to say. That said, if it does not pick back up once the move goes through and the studio is up, I will probably be returning to work full time, which means a reduction in content again, but we're going to cross that bridge when we get there. Try to figure out a way to keep doing this as much as possible. That said, guys, that's pretty much it. I wanted to give you guys all of this stuff on your plate. I want to let you know what's going on. I have been playing a little bit of Heroes of the Storm. I think that it's a market to launch a show. And honestly, anything that I can launch to help keep me making content for you guys, to help fund that, I am happy to do. That's the only reason we're talking about branching out. If I could make enough money to work from home and make content for you 24/7 doing just Dota, I absolutely 100% would, because I love doing it. So hopefully everything will work out. We'll be around a lot this month. Look for pop-up shows. I'm not going to follow my consistent schedule because of the moving thing, but we will pop up with shows at least once, probably twice a week. So make sure you're following me on Twitter at Toffees_Dota2 for that information. Make sure you support the sponsors who stayed with us. That's Razer, the makers of the finest peripherals in esports, and Betway.com. They're a great way to place your bets if you do want to bet on Dota. They're a pretty trustworthy company. I know because I did investigations into them before I let them sponsor the show, and they are known for their sports betting site where they actually do other sports and are well respected within the community. That said, guys, that's the entire show for today. It's been wonderful spending the evening with you. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you caught up on your week. Come back and see us again, because we will be around, and starting as soon as the move is over, we're back to our full schedule. So have a wonderful evening, and as always, Toffees out.